What up, y'all? It's your boy, Mr. Downtown Ray Melo, and you're listening to the Entertainment Report on iHeartRadio, live from Orlando for Friday, July 20th, 2023, delivering some major stories and trends going on in the world of entertainment and beyond. You can follow the show on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, facebook.com/The Entertainment Report with Ray Melo, that's RAYMELO, on Twitter at The Enter Report, or on Instagram at The Entertainment Report. You can listen to the show anytime you want on iHeartRadio. Just go to iHeart.com or iHeart phone app, search for The Entertainment Report, and it'll take you to the page. He collected 20 Grammy Awards, found immortality with Left My Heart in San Francisco, and connected with a younger generation to mount one of the greatest comebacks in music history. Tony Bennett, the treasured American storyteller, singer, and showman, whose joyful impact on the pop and jazz landscape spawned 70 years and stretched from Queens to San Francisco and all around the world, died Friday. He was 96. Bennett died in his hometown of New York, his publicist Sylvia Weiner said. In February 2021, he revealed that he had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease 5 years earlier, but he soldiered on in the recording studio and on tour, rarely performing a song the same way twice. He and Lady Gaga headlined 2 shows at New York's Radio City Music Hall in August 2021, after which he announced he was canceling his fall tour. On his Facebook page, it was noted Friday that Bennett was, quote, still singing the other day at his piano, and his last song was Because of You. That was his first #1 hit. The recipient of 20 Grammys, including a Lifetime Achievement Honor presented in 2001, he earned his final trophy in April 2022 for his work with Lady Gaga on the album Love for Sale, his second acclaimed collaboration with her, becoming the second oldest winner in history. He sold in the neighborhood of 60 million records and charted albums in every decade from the 1950s to the 2020s. Bennett's initial taste of superstardom came with the longing ballad I Left My Heart in San Francisco, which he first recorded in 1962 after his arranger and pianist Ralph Sharon brought the song to him after Tennessee Ernie Ford passed on it. Written by George Corey and Douglas Cross, 2 Bay Area transplants who had relocated to New York, I Left My Heart in San Francisco was placed on the B-side of Once Upon a Time by Columbia Records. However, the tune about the city where the little cable cars climb halfway to the stars made it to number 19 on the Billboard Hot 100 and captured Grammys for Record of the Year and Best Solo Vocal Performance, Male. Bennett said in the San Francisco Weekly in a 2016 interview, I had hits before that song and certainly a lot of hits afterwards, but I had never had a hit like that one. That song gave me international recognition. Bennett, though, would hit a rough patch and amid personal crisis that include tax problems and drug abuse in the late 1970s. He turned to his oldest child, Danny Bennett, to manage and resuscitate his career. His son told the New York Times in 1999, Tony abhorred demographics. He believes he could play to the whole family. I told him that in order to do that, you had to go to them. Bennett began targeting the younger crowd, showing up at the MTV Music Awards with the Red Hot Chili Peppers and on programs like The Simpsons and Late Night with David Letterman, while introducing them without compromise to the Great American Songbook. He scored a hit with the 1992 album Perfectly Frank, an homage to his idol Frank Sinatra, then cemented his comeback with the 1994 release of MTV Unplugged, killed from a concert appearance on the Music Network. With Bennett performing such standards as They Can't Take That Away From Me, It Had to Be You, Fly Me to the Moon, and of course I Left My Heart in San Francisco, it won the Grammy for Album of the Year. Later, Bennett perfected the art of duet, teaming with the likes of Lady Gaga, Amy Winehouse, Katie Lang, Diana Krall, Christina Aguilera, and Norah Jones. Duets 2, released on his 85th birthday in 2011, became the first #1 album of his career. And 2014's Cheek to Cheek, his first LP with Lady Gaga, made him, at 88, the oldest performer to have a #1 album. He sold some 10 million recordings in his 9th decade alone. He never thought about quitting. George Burns said, retire to what? You should do what you really like to do, love to do, and then just keep going forward, he said in 2007. The more you keep learning, the more life becomes important, and it makes you live longer. The youngest of 3 kids, Anthony Dominic Benedetto, was born on August 3, 1926, in the Queens neighborhood of Long Island City, the first in his family to arrive in a hospital. His mom, Anna, was a seamstress, and his dad, John, was a grocer. He told Robert Sullivan in an interview for the 2007 book Tony Bennett in the Studio, A Life of Art and Music, one of the most one of the early gifts I got was from my mother. She would always insist on top quality. She would make those pennies dresses, and the more she made, the more money she would earn. But even still, she'd throw away a bad dress. Always quality. Ever since, I never wanted to do a song that would insult the audience. That was the way to make music that lasts, like a dress that lasts. Just before he turned 10, he stood alongside New York Mayor Florio LaGuardia at the 1936 opening of the Triborough Bridge and sang Marching Alone Together. It wasn't long before his dad died, sending the Benedettos to live in an apartment building in Astoria, Queens. He attended PS 141 and the School of Industrial Art, where he studied music and painted in Central Park for his homework assignments. But he had to drop out at age 16 to help support the family as a singing waiter. He was inspired by his brother Giovanni, who was nicknamed the Little Caruso after he performed solos as a teenager at the Metropolitan Opera. Benedetto was drafted into the U.S. Army in 1944, serving in the infantry on the front lines in France and Germany, and helped to liberate a concentration camp. He remained in Europe after World War II to sing with the Special Service Band until his discharge in 1946. Back in New York, he studied singing on the GI Bill at the American Theater Wing, took acting lessons, and worked as an elevator operator while performing in nightclubs under the stage name Joe Barry. Bob Hope saw him open for Pearl Bailey in Greenwich Village in 1949. Bennett said he was the only white kid in the whole show and invited him to be his opening act at the famed Paramount Theater in Times Square. He said, just before I'm going on, Hope tells me that the name's no good, Joe Barry's no good. He asked what my real name is. I said Anthony Benedetto. That doesn't do it for him either. So he goes out and says to the audience, and here's a new singer, Tony Bennett. He had to introduce me twice because I didn't know who he was talking about. Bennett signed with Mitch Miller in Columbia and reached number 1 in September 1951 with Because of You, followed quickly by another chart topper, a cover of Hank Williams' Cold Cold Heart. Those were the first of his 24 songs to make it into the top 40. In 1953, Bennett's Rags to Riches also made it to number 1, and Stranger in Paradise from the Broadway musical Kismet reached number 2. But with rock and roll getting popular, he shifted his focus to jazz, with such albums as 1957's The Beat of My Heart and LPs recorded with the Count Basie Orchestra. 8 months after I Left My Heart in San Francisco was released, and 4 months after he sold out Carnegie Hall, Bennett was among the guests to appear on the first episode of Johnny Carson's The Tonight Show on October 1st, 1962. The others were Joan Crawford, Groucho Marx, Mel Brooks, and Rudy Vallée. In March 1965, he marched with Martin Luther King Jr. in Selma, Alabama, to support civil rights. A month later, Sinatra was quoted in Life magazine, "For my money, Tony Bennett is the best singer in the world. He excites me when I watch him. He moves me. He's the singer who gets across what the composer had in mind, and probably a little more. There's a feeling in back of it." A grateful Bennett said years later, "Sinatra's fans became interested in me, and I sold out all over the world. He did change my career. I owe him so much." Amid the British invasion, Bennett turned to easy listening versions of such songs as For Once in My Life, MacArthur's Park, and Something. After splitting with Columbia and recording for Verve Records, he launched his own label, Improv, in 1975, and made 2 albums with jazz pianist Bill Evans. However, Improv lasted a couple of years and ended in bankruptcy. In the late 1970s, with no recording contracts, Bennett spent most of his time performing in Las Vegas as his marriage to his second wife, Sandra Grant, was falling apart. His first wife, Patricia, whom he had wed inside St. Patrick's Cathedral in 1952, had sued him for divorce on the grounds of adultery, and they split in 1971. He also was being hounded by the IRS for $2 million in back taxes and struggled with a drug addiction, nearly dying of a cocaine overdose in 1979. He said, "I was in a completely self-destructive tailspin," but he quit drugs cold turkey without going to rehab. Marking a return with arranger Sharon in Columbia, Bennett recorded in 1986 The Art of Excellence, his best-selling LP in 15 years. Then had further success 4 years later with Astoria, Portrait of the Artist, with album photos of him standing in front of the same building in his old neighborhood 40 years apart. For his intimate MTV Unplugged concert, Bennett was accompanied by Sharon, Doug Rishin on bass, and Clayton Cameron on drums, and joined on a couple of songs by Katie Lang and Elvis Costello. When it was over, he glowingly told the audience, "This has been one of the most wonderful nights of my career." Duets in American Classic featured collaborations with Paul McCartney, Elton John, Barbra Streisand, Bono, and others, and won 3 Grammys in 2006. Rob Marshall directed NBC's special, inspired the album, netted the singer the second of his 2 career Emmy Awards. Duets 2 and 2013's Viva Duets featured collaborations with Latin artists like Gloria Estefan and Mark Anthony. As an actor, Bennett appeared on ABC's 77 Sunset Strip in 1963, and as Jaime Kelly, the friend of a self-absorbed movie star played by Stephen Boyd in The Oscar in 1966. He's much better served playing himself, which he did in Muppets Most Wanted in 2014, and on series like The Doris Day Show, Entourage, and Blue Bloods. Bennett also had a second career as an accomplished painter. He signed his work, 3 of which, including Central Park, are in the Smithsonian, using his birth name. Duke Ellington once told him, "Do 2 things," and I was wondering why he said that, and then I found out. As you get burnt out from singing, the painting gives you a big lift. And when you get burnt out from painting, you go back to singing, and that gives you a lift. So you stay in your creative zone all the time. I'm on the perpetual vacation. He married his 3rd wife, former New York City school teacher Susan Crow, who was nearly 40 years his junior in 2007. First met backstage at one of his concerts when she was 19 and president of the San Francisco Tony Bennett fan club. They were together for 20 years before they wed. In 2001, the couple founded the Frank Sinatra School of the Arts in Queens. 8 years later, the school moved into a new $78 million home across the Kaufman Astoria studios. Bennett was named a Kennedy Center honoree in 2005 and received the Gershwin Prize for Popular Song from the Library of Congress in 2017. The latter represented a nice full circle moment, one of the first songs he ever recorded in 1949, when he was still going by Joe Barry, was George and Ira Gershwin's Fascinating Rhythm. In addition to his wife and son Danny, survivors include another son Day, daughters Joanna and Antonia, and 9 grandchildren. In 2006, Richard Merkin in the Vanity Fair wrote that with the passing of Frank Sinatra, Peggy Lee, Ella Fitzgerald, and recently Ray Charles, Bennett stands as the premier stylist of the interpreter of classic American song. He continued, "It is easy to believe that when this planet of ours gets forth its last ding-dong, Tony Bennett will be on stage in some worthy cabaret, represented in a double-breasted tuxedo and a batwing bow tie, summoning what the late Nelson Algren called a rain that lightly rains regrets, and singing in his wonderful voice of the Tony Bennett verities, heartbreak, joy, and love, of course, like no other." Reactions are pouring in on social media from celebrities over the death of Tony Bennett. Stevie Van Zandt tweeted, "R.I.P. Tony Bennett, the best of the best, a last of the legends, a man whose heart was as big as his voice, the world's foremost practitioner of the art of excellence. Deepest love and condolences to my friend Danny and the family." Reverend Jesse Jackson tweeted, "Sending my prayers for and condolences to the family of Tony Bennett, whose legendary career spawned 7 decades. He marched with us in 1964. He was dedicated to civil and human rights and to the arts. He will live as long as we remember him." Josh Gatt tweeted, "This one shouldn't sting so much because any of us who would take 96 years, but man, it is hard to imagine a world without the great Tony Bennett." Ruth Buzzy, the legendary actress and comedian, wrote on Twitter, "The world was a better place with Tony Bennett at the microphone in a tuxedo singing. To one of the kindest, most loving people I've ever known, rest in peace, dear Tony." Guitar legend Joe Bonamassa tweeted, "Rest in peace to one of the best to ever grace the stage. I was just saying that the greatest gig I ever witnessed was Tony Bennett at North Sea Jazz in 2012. It was like dropping a needle on a record. He was the last of the greatest generation of singers and musicians." Nile Rodgers from Chic wrote, "My most heartfelt condolences goes out to Tony Bennett's family and friends. They're also my emotional family and friends." Elton John wrote, "So sad to hear of Tony's passing. Without doubt the classiest singer, man, and performer you will ever see. He's irreplaceable. I loved and adored him. Condolences to Susan, Danny, and the family." Keith Urban wrote, "Just heard about the great Tony Bennett passing with a legacy of not only superb timeless music, but a class act study in cool grace and elegance." Brian Wilson tweeted, "Thinking of Tony Bennett." Gene Simmons wrote, "Today we lost an icon of icons, kind, considerate, and Sinatra was quoted as saying the best singer of them all. Rest in peace, Tony Bennett." George Takei wrote, "The great Tony Bennett has passed away at the age of 96. He was the last of his kind, a master of the American songbook. He may have left his heart in San Francisco, but he won all of our hearts. From Sinatra to Lady Gaga, be at peace and sing to us now from the stars, Tony." Yvette Nicole Brown wrote, "96 is a long life, but I still thought he'd live forever. Hashtag RIP Tony Bennett." Morgan Fairchild wrote, "Met Tony Bennett several times. Once I was shooting in a park in New York and saw him walking by. Went 2 doors of my trailer and called out, and he came over and asked what was I shooting. I came in, had a coffee for an hour, had to go set. Such a talented and such a lovely, gracious gentleman." Priscilla will screen at the 2023 New York Film Festival as event centerpiece selection. Film at Lincoln Center announced Thursday that Priscilla will have its North American premiere at the 61st Festival in October. The film will screen October 6th at the Alex Tully Hall. Priscilla is written and directed by Sofia Coppola. The movie is based on Priscilla Presley's memoir Elvis and Me and explores Presley's life and relationship with rock and roll icon Elvis Presley. Katie Spaney and Jacob Elordi star as Priscilla Presley and Elvis Presley. The new film follows Presley's love affair with Elvis Presley from her early years as a teenage army brat stationed in West Germany to her surreal arrival at Graceland, which became both her home and prison. Coppola's film Marie Antoinette and On the Rocks previously screened at the New York Film Festival. Coppola said in a statement, "I am honored to be back at the New York Film Festival with my new film and to be telling Priscilla Presley's story, the unseen side of a great American myth." The New York Film Festival artistic director Dennis Lim added, "Priscilla is a culminating triumph for Sofia Coppola, a filmmaker with a singular gift for illuminating the interior lives of her characters. It's a showcase for a pair of star-making performances in a world of tremendous empathy and emotional nuance. We are looking forward to welcoming Sofia back to the festival with one of her very best films." A24 released a teaser trailer for Priscilla in June. The film opens in theaters in October. Lionsgate released the first photo of Tobin Bell's return in Saw X. The studio also announced the film's release date, September 29th. Bell starred in the first 8 Saw movies. The first film revealed John Kramer Bell as the Jigsaw Killer, a terminal cancer patient who punished people who took their lives for granted. Kramer was killed in Saw 3 by a victim, not his cancer. Saw 4 and Saw 7 and Jigsaw used flashbacks to show Kramer had set up deadly traps for long after his death. Spiral from the Book of Saw was the first entry not to include Bell. The new killer was inspired by Jigsaw to punish corrupt cops. Lionsgate confirmed Saw 10 takes place between Saw and Saw 2, calling it Jigsaw's most personal game. Kramer traveled to Mexico for experimental cancer treatment when he discovers it is a scam. He concocts traps for the perpetrators. The Saw franchise became famous for Jigsaw's elaborate death traps that forced victims to endure some form of torture to escape. Each entry also had a surprise ending like the reveal of Kramer in the original. Saw 6 and Saw 3D director Kevin Gurat directs Saw 10. Gurat was promoted from editor of Saw 1 through 5 and returned to edit Jigsaw. Jigsaw and Spiral writers Peter Goldfinger and John Stolberg wrote Saw 10. Franchise producer Mark Berg and Orrin Cools also returns. FX released the first teaser trailer for the 12th season of American Horror Story. American Horror Story Delicate is coming soon to FX and Hulu. American Horror Story Delicate stars series newcomers Kim Kardashian and Claire Delevingne along with series regular Emma Roberts. The teaser shows the 3 stars, each sporting platinum blonde hair. A chorus of other platinum blondes dance to a techno rendition of Rockabye Baby as images of embryo fertilization and baby carriages flicker across the screen. The teaser concludes with Kardashian's character holding an infant. Kardashian also used Rockabye Baby to announce her casting on Instagram. Haley Pfeiffer showrun season 12 and wrote the role specifically for Kardashian, series creator and executive producer Ryan Murphy previously said. The season is based on the novel Delicate Condition by Danielle Valentine. Secret Invasion's episodes are coming to Hulu this week. Marvel announced Thursday that the first 3 episodes of the show will be available to stream on Hulu beginning Friday. The episodes Resurrection, Promises, and Betrayal will stream on Hulu from July 21st to August 17th in celebration of the Secret Invasion finale, which premieres July 26th on Disney+. Secret Invasion takes place in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The show follows Nick Fury, played by Samuel L. Jackson, as he races against time to stop a Skrull invasion and save humanity. Ben Mendelsohn, Kobe Smulders, Martin Freeman, Kingsley Ben-Adir, Charlene Woodard, Killian Scott, Samuel Aduena, Deborah Maroney, Christopher McDonald, Kate Finneran, Emilia Clarke, Olivia Colman, and Don Cheadle also star. Constance Wu is the mom of 2. The 41-year-old actress recently welcomed her second child, a son, with her partner Ryan Katner. Wu accidentally let the news slip in a teaser Thursday for her interview with Danielle Robey's Pretty Smart podcast. Wu was discussing how she dedicated her book making a scene to a 2-year-old daughter with Katner when she mentioned she made the decision before her son was born. The star said, "Breaking news, nobody knew I had a son." Wu later expressed her surprise at having a boy. She says, "They were like, 'Yeah, you're having a boy.' I was like, 'Really? Are you sure?'" Wu was then asked if she felt prepared to become a boy mom. She said, "A lot of the differences I'm experiencing, he's just a different person. He's our second kid, so we have less anxiety around it. We've done it before. It's still early. He's still a little nugget." Wu had announced in February. Hello. She said on Instagram stories at the time, "Bun in the oven, Philippines baby number 2 coming soon." Wu is known for playing Jessica Hahn on the ABC series Fresh Off the Boat and for starring in the films Crazy Rich Asians and Hustlers. Ariana Grande is reportedly dating her Wicked co-star Ethan Slater. TMZ reported Thursday that Grande and Slater started dating several months ago during the film's production. Grande and Slater played Glinda and Block in Wicked, a big-screen adaptation of the Broadway musical based on the Gregory Maguire novel. News of Grande and Slater's relationship follows reports that Grande has split from her husband, Dalton Gomez, after 2 years of marriage. Grande separated from Gomez in January and recently started dating Slater, people reported. Slater is separated from his wife, Lily J., with whom he shares a son. E! News and Page 6 confirmed the news. Grande and Gomez married at an intimate wedding in May 2021. Grande was spotted without her wedding ring while attending the Wimbledon tennis tournament Sunday. News of her split from Gomez broke on Monday. Slater is a singer and actor, best known for starring as SpongeBob SquarePants in the SpongeBob SquarePants musical. Filming on Wicked has been halted due to the SAG-AFTRA strike, with about 10 days to work to go, composer Stephen Schwartz said. Director John M. Chu said that the disruption shouldn't affect the film's November 2024 release date. And finally, here are the top 10 songs on the Billboard Hot 100 single charts for the week of July 21st. Number 10, Taylor Swift featuring Ice Spice with Karma. Number 9, Taylor Swift with Cruel Summer. Number 8, Lil Durk featuring J. Cole with All My Life. Number 7, Gunna with Fuck You Mean. Number 6, Miley Cyrus with Flowers. Number 5, Taylor Swift with I Can See You, Taylor's version. Number 4, Rema and Selena Gomez with Calm Down. Number 3, Olivia Rodrigo with Vampire. Number 2, Luke Combs with Fast Car. And the number 1 song on the Billboard Hot 100 single charts for the week of July 21st, Morgan Wallen with Last Night. And that is your entertainment report for Friday, July 20th, 2023. I'm your host, Mr. Downtown Ray Melo. I'll be back on Monday to deliver some major stories and trends going on in the world of entertainment and beyond. You can follow the show on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Facebook.com/The Entertainment Report with Ray Melo. That's RAYMELO. On Twitter at The Enter Report, or on Instagram at The Entertainment Report. You can listen to this episode or any previous episodes of The Entertainment Report anytime you want on iHeartRadio. Just go to iHeart.com or your iHeart phone app. Search for The Entertainment Report, and it'll take you to the page. Everyone have a great weekend. Good night, and God bless you all.